Am I the fool for walking out of the bridal salon when I found out my friends were making fun of me behind my back? I have two friends, Gabby and Shelly. All of us are 23, if that matters. We were roommates in college and stayed in the same city after graduation. While the three of us are close, I've always known that Gabby and Shelly are the closest. They have a really sweet friendship. Shelly is getting married. Gabby is the maid of honor and I'm one of the bridesmaids. Over the weekend, I went with Shelly so she could look at wedding dresses. Gabby was supposed to come with us, but got called into work last minute. I helped Shelly pick out some dresses, then she went with the consultant to try them on. Shelly asked that I take pictures and videos on her phone to send to her mom and Gabby. I was getting the camera ready when a text from Gabby came through. I didn't mean to click on it and was instantly going to click back out when I saw one of my Instagram pictures in their private chat from earlier that morning. Both were making fun of me for the face I was making and my outfit choice. It didn't appear to be very good nature. I admit, curiosity got the best of me, so I searched my name in the chat. I found multiple pictures that I, my boyfriend or my mom have posted of myself, absolutely ripping them to shreds. Ranging from selfies to post shots to even a few baby pictures. They'd also make fun of me in general in terms of the way I talked, wore my hair and the way I ate. This went back as far as I could tell, at least a year. My heart broke. It all felt so juvenile and high school. While we all joke around, I would never do this to them, nor have they ever even tried to instigate these types of conversations with me about the other one-on-one. I was in tears. As someone who was bullied all through middle and high school, it just brought me back to a horrible place. I put the phone in Shelly's purse and brought it to another employee, telling her to tell Shelly that I had to go. I drove home and had a long cry. Shelly texted me by the time I made it home asking where I went. I said I was going home and we could talk later. When she did call a few hours later, she was understandably confused and hurt that I left. I told her what I found, explaining that I only looked further because of the initial text I accidentally saw. She went off on me for looking through her private texts and said those were none of my business. She also told me I shouldn't have left the store without saying anything. I said I didn't want to make a scene but also knew I couldn't fake being happy for her. Shelly told me the texts were all in good fun and clearly she loves me because I'm going to be her bridesmaid. She added that I'm only hurt because I chose to read all those texts. Later on, Gabby called to tell me that I invaded Shelly's privacy and hurt her by walking out. My boyfriend and mom think I did the right thing by walking out. But obviously, they're a little biased. I just want some unbiased looks. Was I in fool to look through the texts and then leave? Am I the fool for offering my kid's nanny more money/hours so she won't work for my SIL? My husband and I have 3 kids, 10-month female, 4 male, 10 female. We currently have a nanny, Isabel, 22F, 3 days a week. I have to say, Isabel is fucking amazing. She drives on field trips, she does homework with the kids, she handles play dates, she's the one adult my 10-year-old likes, she's not dependent on screens, does art projects with the kids, she speaks 10-year-old, and she's even teaching them how to cook and bake. They made mini quiches a few weeks ago. My oldest is doing state testing right now and wanted a fun activity with her friends. Isabel suggested a spa day and my daughter loved it. I set up a day for my 4-year-old to go home with his grandparents and let Isabel turn our living room into a spa. She picked up my daughter, my niece, and 2 friends, brought them to our house, and did their hair and nails while they laid back and did face masks. I guess my niece was telling her mom how cool Isabel is because my SIL texted Isabel offering her a nanny position 4 days a week, matching whatever I pay her, but for only 1 kid. Isabel showed me the text and told me that she will have to think about it because the extra money would be nice. I told her if she promised to stay, next year I'd have her at 5 days a week with a $5 per hour raise. Isabel turned my SIL down saying she had received a better offer and now she's telling my husband's family that I stole a nanny from her. They're upset that I outbid my SIL and gave Isabel extra money and hours just so my SIL wouldn't get her. My husband said it was petty. Am I the fool for offering Isabel a raise and more hours so she doesn't work for my SIL?
Am I the fool for not forcing my child to eat blueberries? Today my wife gave our 11-year-old son some blueberries. My son said that he'd rather not eat them because he doesn't really like blueberries. My wife replied, "But these are really good," so my son hesitantly tried one blueberry and replied, "THX, but I still don't like them and rather not eat the rest." I thought that was the end of it and went to the store to get groceries for dinner. When I came back my son was crying at the table because he was forced to eat the remaining 3 blueberries. I asked my wife, "Why is he crying?" and she explained that he had to eat the blueberries because it is healthy. Thinking it was just about eating a piece of fruit, I told my son that he didn't have to eat the blueberries but he did have to eat another piece of fruit instead, like an apple or 3 strawberries or something similar. My son immediately agreed, spat out the blueberries in the garbage can, and started eating an apple. This, much to my wife's dismay. She said I overruled her authority and that my son will never learn to eat healthy. My reply was that it is not okay to force a child, or any other person, to eat something they don't like, especially after they tasted it. How would she feel if I forced her to eat something she doesn't like? Why is it okay for her to not eat certain foods but not for our son? He likes enough vegetables and fruit in order to get a balanced diet, so I think we should meet him halfway and not focus on forcing him to eat stuff we know he doesn't like, and he is not really a fussy eater, so we have plenty of healthy stuff to choose from. The situation escalated and at one point my son even said, "I'll just eat the blueberries," in an attempt to de-escalate our argument, after which he took 3 blueberries from the fridge and swallowing them almost whole just to get it over with. Sadly for him, it didn't really work because we were already too far into the argument, although I did thank him afterwards for trying and apologized for not being able to let it slide. Am I the fool because I didn't force my son to eat the blueberries and allowed him to take another piece of fruit he does like? Edit, I wasn't expecting such a big response and haven't been able to read all comments. Thanks to everyone who responded, I really appreciate the advice. Maybe I'm not the fool in this situation, but in the future I will try not to argue with my wife in front of our son.
Am I the fool for not moving my wedding date? My fiancé and I recently got engaged, and when looking at dates we realized our anniversary falls on a Saturday this year. Perfect, right? We immediately start planning because it's approximately 9 months out and we have to move quick to pull a wedding together. We told everyone the potential date this weekend and all seemed well. Monday, I get a phone call from my father. He insists that I move the date because my mother has a yoga retreat that weekend. I tell him that this date means a lot to me and I would prefer to keep it if there is any way to move the retreat. There is, but it's expensive. I offer to pay for this change out of my wedding budget, essentially having the amount that I can spend on the most important event of my life. Yesterday I was told that they would not be taking my offer to pay to move the retreat and that we're expected to move the wedding instead. I haven't put money on my venue yet, so they think I should be fine with giving up the chance to marry on a date that means a lot to me. It became a massive fight, and now my parents and I aren't speaking. My father accused me of caring about a date more than I care about my mother. I told him that it felt as though they were choosing yoga over their own daughter. TLDR, wedding falls on the same day as mom's yoga retreat. I haven't put money down on the date yet and she has, but it means more to me than to her. Offers to pay to move the retreat were turned down. Will I be the fool if I keep my date and say that it's me or the retreat? Update 1. Hey everyone! It's been a while, I forgot my password, but a few people asked for updates on how my last post turned out. Unfortunately, a lot of you may not like the answer. Almost all of you said not to change the date, and to enjoy my time without them there. I followed half of that advice. I eventually did relent to my family and change the date of the wedding. My fiancé, now husband, said that the date wasn't as important as my happiness, and the fighting with my parents was destroying that. Now after 6 months, we both wish we hadn't because it was useless. They still didn't show up. Not only that, but they convinced 90% of my family not to show up either. I ended up with only 4 relatives there in a crowd of about 100 guests. My mother claimed that I had been excluding her from planning by scheduling venue tours on days that my fiancé and I were both free, but I didn't realize she was working, and by finding my dress by surprise on a just here to look trip without her being there. They hadn't shown any interest in planning, so I mainly didn't want to bother them. To them, this was clearly a sign that you don't want us there. So they went out of town on the new date. In the end, narcissist mother still got her yoga, I still moved my date, and I still walked myself down the aisle. But my petty self did, in fact, strike back. I had an amazing time, and I made sure that I left obvious empty seats marked for them and told everyone the truth with a smile when they asked. The few family members that did show are now no longer speaking to them either, as are all of the friends who came. The only exception is my brother, who I'm pretty sure they asked to relay the details of the party to them, and even he has almost entirely cut them out due to how they've acted. I haven't spoken to my mother since about a month before the wedding, when she told me to get all of my old things out of her house. I speak to my father very rarely, and only over things like deaths in the family. My in-laws have basically taken me in as their own, and I'm far happier than I ever was in the nightmare of a family I grew up with. Life is good. TLDR, moved the date of the wedding so mom could go to yoga, parents still didn't show, had a better day without them than I would have with them there, finally cut contact with those narcissists. Am I the fool for threatening to kick out my niece after she hacked my daughter's Roblox account? Not the a-hole. My 38 female daughter, 13 female, has been playing this game called Roblox since lockdown first started as a way of playing with her friends virtually as well as curing her boredom. She was obsessed with this Roblox game that's set in a school because she missed her friends so much and it allowed her to stay connected with them. Her interest in video games has developed into an interest into technology. She's by far at the top of her IT class and has even started learning how to code in order to make her own game. My sister, 34 female, and niece, 10 female, have recently had to move in with us after my sister discovered that her husband was having an affair. They're staying at my house for the time being while she saves up money for a place of their own. My niece and daughter usually get along, and they both bond over their interest in Roblox. Last week, my daughter was completely distraught and crying nonstop. She said that she saw her cousin playing on a Roblox game and realized her cousin's avatar had a lot more items than usual. She decided to join her, only to realize that her account had been hacked and she'd lost nearly every item she had on her favorite Roblox game. She'd lost 800k of the in-game currency and nearly her entire inventory, which she claimed was worth over 5 million of the in-game currency. She had spent the last 4 years saving up for those items, and everything was gone just like that. My daughter began accusing my niece of hacking her account. My niece denied it at first, but quickly broke under pressure and admitted everything. The previous day, they had been playing the game together when I called them down to dinner. My niece has only been playing for a few months, and I suppose she would be considered a noob. She begged my daughter to give her some of her items, and my daughter refused, saying that she should earn the items by herself. When my daughter came down, my niece decided to stay behind for a minute to transfer all of my daughter's items into her account. I tried to mediate the situation, but my sister is refusing to cooperate. She told me that it's only a game, it's not like my daughter spent real money on it. I attempted to explain just how much this game means to my daughter, to which my sister said that my daughter should count herself lucky that her biggest problem is a bunch of pixels on a screen. She said my daughter was a teenager now and was too old to be acting this immature over a game. My niece refuses to give my niece her stuff back and says it's unfair that my daughter gets to have everything she wants both in real life and online. I told my sister and niece that both of them were acting like ungrateful brats, considering how I was letting them stay in my home rent-free. Today, I gave her an ultimatum: if my niece doesn't return everything she hacked from my daughter, they would both have 1 week to leave. I told her that I refused to let anyone disrespect my daughter under my roof. Am I the fool?